The first area that we're going to go into is called Broadomation. Is it working or is it not? And what's the next strategy to think about for the next phase? Would someone spend $2,600 to make 100K? All day long, all day long. I'm not even tracking conversions, and I've already 4,000x ROAS this. How? It's not the first time I've done this, so it's not like a one-off case. I've just been doing this one for the last 2 years is without failure. That once that's solidified, like we have lead flow and it's coming in from our campaign. Your job's done for the next 3 months. Your job is done. Cool. Let's get started. So the first area that we're going to go into is called Broadomation. Is it working or is it not? And what's the next strategy to think about for the next phase? I want to give a shout out to Caden and Artie for organizing this. These are just amazing. It's like, hey, here's what we want to talk about, and this is what everyone wants to know. So this has been amazing. So thank you so much for putting this together. I am going to get into a screen, and then we are going to talk about next steps. So let me just make sure. Yeah, there's nothing up here. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm working on one screen, so I can't like shift everything over. So you're kind of seeing everything in real time. So a good example, a good example of this is a client that's actually here local, and they are selling commercial buildings. Not commercial, I'm sorry, they're residential buildings, but they are very, very large. $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 buildings. We do lead generation. And what's interesting about this is the optimizations that need to be made with pure broad and using an automated bidding strategy, that when you have this scenario happen, there's a lot less optimizations that need to be made in an account. So much so that I don't even need to track conversions. Sounds stupid. And it is not the right way to do this, but it drives this point home as to, well, what is the next phase and what steps should you take, and should you take any steps, if any? And let me move that over here. So I have one campaign running, and I'm not even using target cost per acquisition. I have actually recently switched this over to maximize clicks. And I did this here on the 22nd, I think. Our clicks went from 50 and 60 a day to about 150 a day. So what we're going to track now is lead generation picking up. So I'm just going to just kind of cover the scenario. Right now, today I have, let me do this. Google paid search. So I have 2 yesterday, 1 31st, 30, 30, 29, 29, 29, 29, 29, 29, 28, 27, 26, 26, 26, 25, 5. A lot of leads being generated from one campaign. And this campaign right now is spending about $4,000 a month. Now it's going to be spending more, but it's spending about $200 a day. And you can have a healthy campaign at $200 a day, delivering a lot of good quality lead flow if you're doing a few things. One, you're actually tracking the sales of those. You're actually tracking the engagement. You're tracking the quality. You're talking with the client, getting feedback. I talk with this client every week. Named Steve. We meet on Wednesdays. We met actually yesterday because we had to skip our Wednesday meeting and push to Thursday. But talk with him, and I know his sales goals. He needs to increase by 33% by the end of next year. We need to hit $18 million in annual revenue in sales goals. So I know all of this stuff because I don't manage the Google Ads portion. I'm managing delivering clients that will be sold. That's the point that we have to get out of. Well, I saw a lead come in. That doesn't matter. The lead coming in does not matter. It really doesn't. It's more so the fact of, is it a good quality lead, and will it close? I'll give you a quick snapshot as to how cool this looks. I haven't tracked a conversion, I don't even think, this year, which is kind of funny. But I know what optimizations I need to make because I talked to the client. Yep. I've not tracked one conversion. I spent $26,000 this year. Instead of HubSpot, when we look at the ads here, this is how I'm actually kind of tracking the conversions. If I look at this year, that's at $26,000. I made 1.238 million in revenue for them on 25 grand. So I have a 4,600 ROAS. That's what this says in actual physical sales, and it's cost me $2,600 per sale. Now that $2,600 per sale, like, wow, that's pretty bad. But when you look at these deal sizes, this last one that cost me $2,600 made 81,000. The next one that cost me $2,600 made 80,000. So this is what I mean by looking at what the actual deal. Another $2,600 spent, 141,000. Would someone spend $2,600 to make 100K? all day long, all day long. I'm not even tracking conversions and I've already 4,000x ROAS this. How? It's because it doesn't matter about where the people are coming from. It doesn't matter what they Googled necessarily. Pure Broad is not going to care what they Googled. Pure Broad is going to only look at how often are these people staying on the site, engaging, filling out the forms. That's the first part. That once that's solidified, like we have lead flow and it's coming in from our campaign, your job's done for the next 3 months. Your job is done. And that's what I mean. And this isn't the first client of this. I have more clients. We actually shot the video on it. It's on the website of how to have a $1,200 CPA turn into millions of dollars, whatever it is. But that was the other company that I was talking about. I can't say it out loud here, but it's not the first time I've done this, so it's not like a one-off case. I've just been doing this one for the last 2 years is without failure. So when I'm talking about Pure Broad, the search terms that are coming into this campaign, this part will probably have to be blurred out a bit, but they don't necessarily make a whole bunch of sense. They're kind of all over the place. Metal building, yeah, and I'll give you an example of what this company does. And if we need to blur this out or skip this part, that's okay. This would be just for internal for training. But they sell these. I'm not even tracking conversions, and I'm selling millions of dollars so far this year alone. $1 million so far this year alone in selling these things without tracking conversions. That's unheard of. People, you're usually looking at what's the CPA, the conversion rate, yada yada yada. It doesn't quite matter because with lead generation, it's more about the sales process than the type of quality lead. They've shut off their Facebook. We actually removed Facebook from HubSpot because they generated so many more leads than we did, but they actually didn't convert to any deals. They were that bad of quality. And we even track all the way down to the point of how did you hear about us? And people are like Google searched, like searching online. We even have the source that they're coming from. But what's funny is the keywords, they don't necessarily make sense. Metal warehouse, that, yeah, sure. If that converted, that's great. I don't really care if it did or not. I know that these are the ones that are collectively close enough to convert that I don't even need to track the conversion. And I'm emphasizing this because when we're talking about the next steps, do we turn into phrase or do we turn into exact match? Some things that you have to think about is, okay, after the entire sales cycle with more than 10 participants, was that good? Well, how long would that take? If we look at the clicks here so far for this year, I have steel building is 7,500 clicks and metal building is 3,100 clicks, and everything else is sub 700, all the way down to less than 91. That keyword that I'm going after is generating pretty much all the sales, and I can see that inside of HubSpot. I know that any deal that we come in, well, let me just do this. I'm probably gonna be made a liar because this is probably the one-off that didn't actually use that keyword. Go into this person's name. Scroll down to the bottom. Ads activity, steel building, metal building, the two that always brings all the deals. Now the search term, who knows? That's going to be what's funny is the search term is.
This is not a glitch. I'm interrupting the video you're watching because I need to remind you that I'm always looking for people to join our team. So if you're passionate about Google Ads and you want to work with the best Google Ads agency on the planet, please go to so8.com/apply. Speaking of working with the best Google Ads agency on the planet, if you're having trouble with Google Ads and you want professional help, that's what we do. You can go to sol8.com, that's SOL8.com, to apply for your free, no obligation action plan. And if I've given you any level of value at all, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. That's how we juice the YouTube algorithm so they actually know that I know what I'm talking about. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or confessions, hit me below in the comments. And now, back to your regularly scheduled program.
I have 7,000 clicks, only 500 of them overlapped in modular houses is actually not even something that works. There's Southwest Building Solutions, modular houses, steel buildings, Arizona, metal buildings. There's a lot of clicks here. They're all so similar though, that it's outside the actual search term that a person used, and more so is that keyword, regardless of what the search term is, still built and still getting these deals. And the sales cycle is 8 months long for these people. I've been working with them for over 2 years. That's why this year is looking really, really good. But now next steps. Would you go after it? This is where we have to then think about the point of next steps. When is it appropriate to go to phrase or exact when a broad match keyword is working well? So the things that we would need to have is enough similar variations that phrase match would capture what broad match is already capturing. And what I mean by that is if you're looking at metal buildings, Arizona and Arizona steel buildings, perfect. These two phrase match is going to capture both of those. If I did metal buildings, Arizona, I would actually capture both of these here. Arizona steel buildings and metal buildings, Arizona phrase match would capture both of those. At the same amount that I'm capturing right now, probably not. There's probably going to be some match type here that's going to say, that wasn't close enough because they put like Arizona, Maricopa County steel buildings. Like there was probably something that broad match would have captured that phrase match may have not. So this, what you'll see here is it's already a phrase match of a broad keyword. So a phrase match of a broad keyword, this just means, hey, it was close enough that I'm going to count it as a phrase version of that broad keyword, but it's still broad. So broad match turned into now much more than just, is that keyword that's being typed in, what is going to convert? It's not. It's what is that person going to do? Google can optimize even without seeing the conversions because it is looking at the page engagement. And that's where I think that pure broad is working really, really well. It's because that page engagement is there. Google's going to see that. I still have my keyword on this, so they just changed the thank you page on me because, long story short, the reason why we're not trying conversions, they had a bad web development company try to charge them extra hundreds of dollars for things that they messed up. This company said, please go away. We don't want to work with you anymore. And they kept the login. So we can't track conversions. We already have another person coming in that's basically going to get access back to it. But long story short, we don't have access to the site and the client doesn't either. So yeah, that's why we're not tracking conversions. Analytics code's not on there either. Like it's a nightmare. So long story short, I've just been managing this though, just through their site. Now there's negative keywords that I've been adding when I know that there's something that cannot happen. So like barn dominium, like commercial, these are all residential, and barn dominiums are things that people were actually calling in saying like, hey, I like to have a steel building that I can live in. Like, yeah, that's not possible in Arizona. It's not, these buildings are not up to code. We can't make our buildings livable legally. And if we did, it's going to cost you more than your house did. So they're like, period, can never work with these. Anybody looking for barn dominium, we don't want. So I broad matched barn dominium and just said, Google, do your thing. And it's been working well. That stopped immediately. So my negative keywords were based off of sales data though. That's what's important here. It was based off of sales data. What do I mean by sales data? I mean, after this person contacted them, what happened? I still have livable buildings as a search term. That's still not possible. They can't live in these things. But we stopped after I added barn dominium. The people that are Googling the livable buildings, those people, when they do convert, they still are in the sales process. They're like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to live in it, but can I have air conditioning? I thought it needed to be livable for me to have things like installation and air conditioning. Oh, no. You absolutely have all the amenities. There's just not going to be like the light sockets in a specific height and that kind of stuff, like all the stuff that doesn't make it livable legally. So that's what's interesting here is you can still use negative keywords, use them sparingly. I think in this whole campaign, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 negative keywords pretty much. Like that's all my negatives for last year. And it's been still 4,000 ROAS. So when do we want to take it from broad to phrase match? If you find that there's a heavy amount of commonality in the search term and the search keyword, you can turn it into phrase. But if you find that the keyword in broad is delivering you the results, but the search terms are not common, they don't have commonality within them, they just so happen to be matched with that keyword, you cannot turn it into. I'll visualize this for you all here. If I go into the search terms and I use steel building and I say that show me all the keywords with steel building. Remember, steel building is what's bringing us, actually, let me do this, steel building, metal building. These two keywords are responsible for 100% of all of our sales. We only added in a bunch of other ones because the client wants to add them in there. And so we just said, okay. But the steel buildings and metal buildings right here, there isn't a lot of exact matches between steel building and there's one here, steel buildings, that's good. Modular houses, no. Southwest Building Solutions, no. Again, we're only running Google. So it's I'm okay capturing brand. Steel buildings, Arizona. Yeah, that'd probably capture it. Metal buildings, Arizona, metal buildings, steel, okay, good. So this would probably be safe to turn into phrase. However, you have to look at all of the other 20,000 search terms and then say, did any one of those conversions that you're now tracking through the sales process turn into a conversion? Yes. If the amount of those are higher, then what we're seeing is just pure volume you can't turn into, because you're going to erase potentially 20,000 search terms and you're left with 400. Remember, this is the amount of variety. This isn't the amount total. This doesn't say, hey, there's been 20,000 searches for steel building and metal buildings. There's 20,404 different ways that people typed in a version of steel building. That's why this works. So imagine what you're going to cut off in order to reduce the CPA and see if it's worth it. I am a big proponent of not doing that if it's working. There's no reason to. You're going to drive up your CPC. You are going to drive up your conversion rate, but you're also going to drive up your CPC, but you could also heavily kill volume for sure.
Kasim with the Daily Google News, and I'm excited because I've got another member of our team joining us. Jeremy, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on. Super excited to be here and talking to you.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, you came from our YouTube channel, didn't you? That's how you, or was it a podcast?